Hello, everyone. Welcome to our next session. So we have God's promise to Jacob here, but I'm terming this Yahweh manifesting his Edenic presence to yet another Adam, because as I've displayed on a few other slides that have come before this, yet again, very strong connections between these various stories, as goes the figures of Adam, then Noah, and then, of course, Abram, and now a new generation, Jacob here. So that's what I'm looking at here in each of these ladders, every pun intended with that, because this particular moment happens to be the story of Jacob's quote, ladder or staircase connecting heaven and earth together as he's now camped out at Luz, now turned Bethel, where he sees God and deems it as being the very house of God. So going over here to the far upper left corner of the screen, Yahweh speaks to Adam in the garden. Now, notice beside that, we have Yahweh speaking to Noah outside the floating Eden. So, granted, he did speak to Noah before that. It wasn't the first time he manifested himself. But when he speaks to Noah in Genesis 6, that this floating Eden hasn't even been built yet. So we're looking at the post-flood aspect of what's happened now in the ambiance of the environment of this floating Eden ark perched on a mountain, animals and humans coming out of it, filling the earth. And before that all happens, as goes dispersing from this area, there's a votive offering where after Noah is coronated as a new king over all the creation, as essentially a new Adam, he's acting in this priestly way by offering these votive gifts to God. And then, of course, Yahweh speaks to Abram near a cosmic mountain. We go back to the story of the Tower of Babel, right? As soon as that story is over with, even though generations have passed, yet the sequence of the story is as if nothing has happened between those two moments. It's Tower of Babel dispersion, and then boom, Abram's being called. And of course, it's in the very backyard of the Tower of Babel sequence. So it's as if we are to visualize Abraham there near the ruins of the Babylonian ziggurat. And then, of course, Yahweh speaking to Jacob at the house of Yahweh in Genesis 28, which is the context of our story. So moving beyond that into this turquoise looking block, be fruitful and multiply is what is said to Adam and Noah. Then again to Abram, as we said before, God is going to make him into a great nation. But notice what he says here to Jacob. Your offspring will be like the dust of the earth. So obviously he is going to have to multiply greatly if that's the case. And that would double back to what was said here in each of these instances, being fruitful and multiplying, filling the earth, and of course becoming a massive nation. And as it was with Adam, when Yahweh blessed him, he also blessed Noah and his sons. God promised Abram, I will bless you. And it would certainly mean nothing less, even though bless is not used there, for him to say to Jacob, I am with you. This is his personal blessing to Jacob, as Jacob is on his way out of the land that by right of inheritance now belongs to him through the blessing of his father Isaac and what was prophesied before Jacob was even born. And now for him to be wondering, almost like Cain in his story, going yet further east, but God is not casting him out, as Cain was sentenced to wander as a vagabond, never finding rest. Yet God is saying, I am with you, and I will bring you back to this land, which is what we will get to. He told Adam and Noah, fill the earth. And the same with Abram, in a sense, where he says, all peoples will be blessed through you. Now, granted, that's not quite fill the earth so much as goes what he says on the nose directly to Adam and Noah, but what he does mean through that is all peoples who are populating the earth and now shut off from me by virtue of the events of the Tower of Babel will find connection to me again, which they all would have found connection to God if Adam had been faithful and obedient to God in the beginning. Humanity seemingly never would have been separated, and Noah was to carry this mandate on through his generations after him until, of course, they start to rebel. And this is what God says to Jacob, all peoples on the earth will be blessed through you, doubling back here, which means we double back here. And of course, it's not just through you, but through his offspring. So this being added to what was said here. Now, lastly, Yahweh planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he placed the man he formed. The ark came to rest and on the mountains of Ararat. So yet we have garden temple, man set there. We have yet again seemingly floating garden temple. There's food that obviously came from the produce of the land. There's animals and man and all kinds of creeping and flying things in the floating Eden that's now resting on the mountains of Ararat that's coming out of it and receiving that blessing. And now the call to Abram, go from your land to the land I will show you, which is essentially a new Eden space. And then God is telling Jacob, I will bring you back to this land, not because covenantally it belongs to the Jews, because of course what's going to happen by virtue of what God is going to accomplish through this, i.e., the accomplishment of mission one: change the world, bless all the families of the world through your offspring, which is what Adam and Noah were supposed to do in their time. So the end point of all of these, though, is the same thing, that Yahweh establishes his covenant with Adam, and in every successive story after this, he remains faithful. He remains faithful. He remains faithful. As I said before, he will have his Eden. He will have his king priest, and he will change the world and reconcile all creation back to himself, such that he is all in all. And we get to be along for the ride. We remember that God is faithful, and nothing will ever stop him from being so. So hopefully, I think that might have been helpful, and I hope it was for you.